Welcome to Rewatch and Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each episode against each other. Today's episode is Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-Kun Episode 10, What Strengthened is Our Bond and Our Reigns. The episode in a nutshell is to remind us about what happened in the episode. So the episode starts with Nozaki kind of thinking about how Ken wants him to make a story about Oze and Waka, but because of who they're based on, he's not really sure he wants to go ahead with that or move their relationship forward, and is kind of struggling with the choice when Wakamatsu appears, stating that Seo has given him a movie ticket. And he doesn't know what to do about it, so Nozaki decides that perfect opportunity, go to the movies with Seo and tell me what happened, and then he can use it for his manga. So Wakamatsu goes with Seo to the movies, and at first he's struggling with how to make her feel bad. And he goes back to the manga for his studying, and he sees that one of the characters gets upset that the other character looks so good outside of their school uniform. So he decides that that will work and dresses up in a suit to go to the movies. But it backfires because Seo simply states that she didn't realize he was looking forward to it that much, which of course is not what his intention was. Then they go to the movie, and he basically makes a comment going in about how he's always worried which armrest to take, either the right or the left. And she says she's never even thought about it, and we see why, because when she gets in there, she has her arms on both sides of the rest. And then Wakamatsu tries various things to claim the center armrest. First, he tries with drinks, but he gets one for both of them, so it doesn't work. Then he tries with popcorn, even like holding on to it to say, don't take this. But eventually the movie starts, so it doesn't really matter that much. And when the movie starts, as they're watching it, they're both reacting to completely different scenes and in completely different ways. And when they get out of the movie, Seo is really excited to talk about what happened in the movie, and they realize that they basically watched the same movie but taken completely different things from it. Like, Seo was all about the alien character, which honestly Wakamatsu didn't even notice. He was more into like the human side of the fight that was happening on screen, and it was just like completely different. So then they decided to go eat, but of course Seo describes all of the gory bits while he's trying to eat an omelet with rice in it and ketchup all over it. So then he kind of starts to feel ill, and as they're walking back from the date, he basically is like, I hated this. I don't want to like go out with you again. And she's like, okay, well, the next time I'll invite someone else, and brings out some amusement park tickets. And he basically, one, gets upset by that, but two, also doesn't want to have any of the other basketball players have to go through what he's going through with Seo. So he agrees to go with her. And this is the part that Nozaki uses in his manga, having Oze and Waka go on a date, Waka not have a great time, but then when Oze says he'll just invite someone else next time, she then says that she'll go out with him and then shocks herself because she thought she hated him. And then we move on to the next scene where Wakamatsu has decided to try to find out who Lorelai is and has been kind of staking out the choir room when Hori comes over and is basically like, what are you doing? And he says, well, I want to find out who Lorelai is, but the choir is full of girls and I don't know anybody there, and I think it would look weird if I went in. So Hori goes in for him, but loses track of the goal and comes out thinking that they should do a musical. This then leaves Kashima in a panic because Kashima can't sing. And she then's like, I don't know what to do. I don't want to admit that I'm bad at something to Hori, but I cannot sing. And she asks if there's anybody who could teach her. And of course, Sakura suggests that Seo can teach her as she's the choir club's Lorelai. So Kashima goes in and sings. She sings really badly, but Seo does agree to help her. So on like the next day, Wakamatsu sees Seo go into the choir club. Kashima's already there, and Kashima starts singing, and Wakamatsu returns to Nozaki's place crying over the pity he feels for Seo for being in the choir club but sounding that bad, mistaking Kashima's terrible singing, which is so terrible that they literally mute it on screen for, of course, Seo's singing. And that's the first half of the episode. Then we go into the second half of the episode, which is where Hori is taking on the an acting role for an actor who's fallen sick. And this makes Kashima super happy, so happy that she acts absolutely terribly until the scene Hori's in. And then when Hori is on stage, she's very, very determined to act really, really well. But because of the natural competition of their real life relationship, Kashima knows she's supposed to defeat Hori's character, but she can't bring herself to give the final blow. Meanwhile, Hori's character, he knows their character's supposed to lose, but he just can't bring himself to lose to Kashima. So they decide that they need maybe he shouldn't be the one acting after all, and he then replaces himself with Nozaki. However, Nozaki, when he basically tries to rewrite the script, create a spin-off scenario of a sister coming back for revenge and all this other stuff. So then they're like, okay, maybe you should get into costume to get into character. However, the only costume that fits him is a bear costume. And then and he doesn't know how to sword fight, so Hori's like, well, just do your gym elective, because he was thinking, um, oh goodness, what is that sport? Kendo? Anyways, it turns out that Nozaki actually took judo, and so he goes into like more of like well, a bear-like pose as he's in the bear costume, and so they decide they need to find somebody else. And at first they're like, is there anybody who's like charismatic, who would be wanting to act, and like nobody knows anybody like that. And he's like, well, maybe there's a pushover we can trick, and they all bring in Mikoshiba. And Mikoshiba basically gets tricked into helping because they put him into the costume and then they hype him up, hype him up, hype him up until he's like, yes, I will do this. And then as Mikoshiba and Kashima are fighting on stage, Hori realizes that Mikoshiba is Mamiko. And that basically makes him root for Mikoshiba, which of course depresses Kashima. And then at the end of the episode, he is basically like complimenting Mikoshiba, but keeps starting his name as Mam Mikoshiba because he's seeing now Mikoshiba as Mamiko. And then the next day he goes because Mikoshiba agreed to help them out again, only to find that Mikoshiba's completely reset and no longer is comfortable around him hiding behind a curtain. So Hori ultimately determines that he will take the role after all. We then have our credits, and the post-credits scene, we have Wakamatsu kind of stalking Seo, trying to find one good quality about her, just one. And it's funny because all of the basketball teammates see him staring particularly hard at Seo, and they stand there and they wonder what's made him like fall in love with Seo all of a sudden, not realizing that he's trying to hunt for any good point. Now that we remember what happened in the episode, it's time to rank the episode. As always, we'll be ranking on our mostly objective ranking lists, followed by the personal ranking list. So we come again to our mostly objective rank values, and there were no negatives once again that applied. However, there also weren't many of the positive sides that would have applied to this particular episode. And so the only one that really applied was our multi-episode main character development, which is the realization that Kashima, despite being multi-talented, smart with good grades, athletic, good at sports, acting ability, good look. Her one thing, her one flaw that she cannot do besides being a little bit dumb when it comes to Hori is she cannot sing. And that she sings so terribly that they have to even mute it on screen because heaven forbid the audience be subjected to such extreme horror. And so that is worth 4 points, and that is all the points. Bringing our season 1 ranking so far on our mostly objective ranking to This Love is being turned into a shoujo manga, Say Hello to the New Heroine, The Man Who Envisions Love, I'll Cast a Spell on You, There Are Times When Men Must Fight, The Prince Girl of the School's Problems, Violence versus the Prince, The Manga Artist's Brain Nozaki-Kun, What's Strengthened is Our Bond and Our Reigns, which is this episode in 9th, and then in last currently is Do You Have Enough Excitement? Now we come to my personal ranking, and as I feel has become kind of common, I liked the episode. I thought that it was amusing in certain spots. There were even a couple of laugh out loud moments. But ultimately, I did feel like, as compared to other episodes, it was a bit lacking. It wasn't as funny as others, a little bit funnier than some. In this case, I do think that both halves were pretty on par, and I do think that they did blend the episode better. Like, it wasn't two distinct storylines, but kind of had more of a blending, despite the fact that they, like, each half had different characters. Because they had the whole Kashima learning to sing from Seo, it felt almost like they did meld a little bit better than some of the other episodes did, which I liked. But again, like I said, it didn't wow me, it didn't disappoint me, it just kind of felt like an average episode. And because it was so average, I gave it a 5, which brings season 1 ranking so far on our personal ranking to in first, There Are Times When Men Must Fight, Say Hello to the New Heroine, I'll Cast a Spell on You, The Prince Girl of the School's Problems, This Love is being turned into a shoujo manga, The Man Who Envisions Love, Do You Have Enough Excitement, Violence versus the Prince. This episode came in 9th, What's Strengthened is Our Bond and Our Reigns, and then the manga artist's brain, Nozaki-Kun, is currently in 10th. Which brings us to our final segment, which is our series ranking so far. And so far in season 1, on our mostly objective ranking, we have a score of 68 out of 120. And then on the personal ranking, we have a score of 71 out of 120. And with that, we've now rewatched and ranked Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-Kun episode 10, What's Strengthened is Our Bond and Our Reigns. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.